Good afternoon, everybody. Austin,
David.
Monty, David Uppner from Brews and Review 1776. And tonight we are going to be reviewing the limited release of the Goose Island Bourbon County brand barley wine. Apparently this one is from Total Wine, I got it at Total Wine. I think they had it as the 2014 version. Got about 11% according to the label. Nice malty beverage aged in bourbon barrels. So, wonder how different it'll taste compared to the Omnigang Henry Queen. That's obviously not aged in bourbon barrels, I don't think. So, David?
Oh, I'm totally excited to try another barrel-aged beer. We tried the
Bad lady back there.
oh yeah, absolutely necessary.
Didn't want that light to be glaring you guys in the face.
That light yet again. We had the casserole beer the other day, and that was pretty good. Yet another.
It's the barrel-aged sweet potato casserole.
Exactly. We had the barrel-aged casserole beer.
Because they've never barrel-aged that one before.
Exactly. This was designed to be barrel-aged, and it's also a barley wine, which is actually
Just as good.
just as good. And when you get into this arena of beers, you start to notice changes in how the beers are, how they show themselves when you pour them. Especially the head starts to go away, not much retention. It starts to resemble that of a cognac, of a wine. So being that we got a barley wine and it's over 10%, it's not a stout. You can't pin it to one of those styles. You just simply call it a barley wine. It's a super strong ale, over 11%. So it only makes sense to
And
name
usually
it
they're
a different,
malty as hell.
as you would expect, because that alcohol percentage is so high, and there's only one way you can get a high alcohol percentage. It's not by the bourbon barrels. It's not by aging in bourbon barrels, even though people might think that. It's actually the copious amounts of malt that you're going to get. Not much hops in this beer. Doesn't need it. The style doesn't call for it. So it's a perfect beer for what it is, and looking forward to trying it.
Yeah.
Probably will get a boozy smell for sure on this. We've tried other barley wines such as the Dog's Shed 120. You can consider
Definitely
that
got
a
a
barley wine.
little boozy smell to it.
A little boozy smell. Yeah,
Not bad.
but it's not gonna dominate it, which is great as always. Makes a really good beer. It smells just like the casserole beer. Now, it won't taste like the casserole beer, but from the smell, you definitely get that same exact, generally partly boozy, and mostly just you can smell that wafting scent of that malt. It's a strong characteristic.
Oh, the malt is definitely there. Nice dark body to it.
Nice dark by brown. Definitely not the darkest beer you're going to get in terms of color, but you're not really using the dark black malt for these beers. You're using Crystal 120, which is the darkest crystal malt. It's going to add that nice, dark, rich brown flavor to it, and it's going to be the source of all that sugar too, partly. But most come from the General Turo barley malt that you're going to use. So I can only imagine how much barley malt they use in these. God knows, or the brewer knows.
Figure it out.
Let's figure it out.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, that's malty right off the bat.
Oh,
But not too malty.
no. Well, depends on who's tasting it. That's what I always say.
That is very true.
If your tastes are in tune, if your tastes are in tune to these kind of beers,
then it won't be bad.
then it won't taste as malty. But believe me when I tell you that these beers are definitely malty, and I'm speaking from experience and what I can imagine other people might think when they first try this. And it's just a wallop of strong, sweet tasting barley malt. Wow, there is no malt, there's no hops in these.
That might be one of my favorite barley wine ales.
If there is any hops, like, you have to dig deep for it, and it's just so low that it's just impossible. Wow, you know that. I mean, wow, it's really, really good. It's very bold as much as sweet. You're getting this this toffee-like, this rich toffee-like flavor, slightly off sweet, brings out the complexities of a beer like this. Wow.
It's a perfect after dinner.
Toffee, butterscotch come to mind. Just really deep.
More toffee for me than butterscotch.
Yeah, well, it's definitely more toffee than butterscotch. I will have to say you're getting these darker, rich characteristics.
Hello, Daniel.
And butterscotch being a little bit more light. This one is a super sticky toffee. It's like a sticky toffee pudding barley wine. It's like a sticky toffee barley wine. Yeah, just really on the front. Doesn't sound bad at all. With bourbon, of course.
Everything goes right with bourbon.
As all these beer companies are starting to see that bourbon is a great component in a beer. It's once again that trend that I noted the other day when it comes to the beer scene.
Little sentiment.
And as you see, there's not a lot of head. The head's gone.
Head going away is bad.
It's not a bad thing.
Depends on how you.
Not in barley wines. In beers, if there's no head, then that's a huge problem. If there's no lacing in the beer, that's a huge problem. But in the barley wine, I mean, you definitely get that lacing because it's just so sticky. It's just going to stick to the glass and stay there. But when it comes to the head retention, you don't need it in a barley wine. That's just par for the course when you get to this level of beer. So it's a great beer. It's just amazing.
If you can't find this one, Goose Island, or I got mine at Total Wine, but as far as I know, they are for sale at the Brass Tap. So far, only the one in Pembroke Pines I know has it. I don't know if any of the other ones do, but for now, the one in Pines has it. But you might be able to find the Goose Island barley wine from this year and or last year at Total Wine. Bottle from this year or last year was just a bit bigger than this.
Interesting.
A bit bigger.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. When we think about beers that you could wow newcomers to, this might work. They might be overwhelmed by these dark characteristics, which you also get a lot of dark fruits, a lot of this dark fruit taste coming from those esters as well. All of these dark flavors might be too bold for them. I think that the casserole that we had the other day, the potato casserole bourbon, was actually more pleasing to someone that was not used to beer. For example, David Jeswell yesterday, our special guest. He never really liked beer before, but he finally found a beer that worked for him.
Maybe it'll expand it. Maybe it'll broaden his horizons.
This beer certainly could follow suit like in that way. However, it might be just a bit too dark for some people. That casserole flavor, that potato cinnamon casserole flavor, was really the primary flavor that made it good in the minds of someone who is not a typical drinker. This beer can also, because it is sweet, however, there are some characteristics like on the back end, that aftertaste might be a little too cloying, but overwhelming. So, but as usual, you can't please everyone when you get over 10%. You can barely please some people with a 6% beer
or a 9%.
Or a 9% beer. It all depends. But this beer, for me, of course, I'm going to say I like it because that's how I roll.
On a scale
with the
of
dark beers.
1 to 5, we usually when we rate beers, we usually use the Untapped scale, a 1 to 5, 0 to 5, or 1 to 5.
I've always wondered what scale we should use, whether it should be a 1 to 10 scale or a 1 to 5 scale. With these kind of beers, it's more like a 3 or 3 to a 5, because I can't imagine rating this lower than a 3, even a 4, really. This beer, honestly, it deserves somewhere in between a 4 and a 5.
Why don't we meet in the middle and say 4.5?
That's what I'm thinking. 4.5 seems pretty good. It has the complexities that you look for in a beer, and I wonder what they could have done different to make it more to allow it to have a better rating. That's a good question. You could add more vanilla to a beer, add even a third characteristic, but it has a pretty good characteristics already, enough to give it a 4.5. Some people would say a perfect score, but this beer deserves the rating that it gets in my mind, and totally 4.5.
Cheers, everybody.
So this Bourbon County barley wine gets a 4.5
on the Bruce
scale.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everyone.